Take a deep breath. Deep conversations are starting.
Hi, everyone. In a new episode, Deep Conversations by Breath Hub, I have an amazing, beautiful lady with me, Melissa. My daughter's name as well. She's just gorgeous. Standing in front of me, sitting in front of me, such a light. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me, Nevşah.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. I love it here in Boston. So before we start our conversation, how did you end up with being a yoga teacher? How did you start? And maybe why? How it all happened? I would love to hear it.
So I always dabbled in yoga when I was a kid, a little bit when I was in college, university. And it wasn't until after college where I started doing yoga just more regularly. And I had in my head, I would love to be a teacher, but I didn't have the confidence to say it out loud until my yoga teacher at the time brought it up to me. And I thought, I've been thinking that. And so that kind of put a little confidence in my heart. And then I moved to Connecticut from Massachusetts to be with my boyfriend, who I'm now married to. And when I was looking up yoga studios, because I decided, okay, I have to stick with this, I found a studio that offered training, yoga teacher training, just in case I wanted to, keep the option open. And I fell in love with the studio. And I was in my early 20s, and I was, really scraping by with, I have an art degree, I'm a painter, and I was teaching art, all different types of jobs. And so I was signing in at the front desk at the yoga studio. And so that's how I really got into it there, and was able to make the yoga work for me. And I just was really blessed with a beautiful community and beautiful teachers. And I was lucky that I found kind of a second home for myself there. And that's where I did my yoga teacher training. And then I guess the rest is history.
I think you're so lucky. I mean, the newer generation, because I'm getting older and I used to live in Turkey. So how I started yoga was literally by books by myself, because there was literally not many people, especially I was living in the very west of Turkey, very near to Greek islands, Izmir area. And there wasn't even one yoga teacher. And because people, and this is, what I'm talking about is like around 26 years ago. So it's a long time ago. And people, because I remember the time there was a cartoon, and his name was Yogo. And when I told people yoga, I'm opening up a yoga studio, and people like, Yogo? No, yoga, yoga, no, yoga. So I remember the first days, and I used to, maybe around 30 years ago. So I was in the university. I was actually in high school when I started yoga by myself, by books, because I didn't have a teacher. And then when I went to Istanbul, I started joining some courses. So I took some courses. And then I was lucky enough to go to the Vivekananda University in India and get my trainings there. And and I opened up the first yoga studio ever in the west of Turkey, when people were saying she opened up a yoga studio. I mean, that's a yoga studio.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah? And how did you how did you also end up with breath work? And what's the place of breath work in your life right now?
All of my classes start with connecting with the breath. I believe that centering, grounding, being in the present moment, my meditation practice, how I teach mindfulness and meditation, it all starts with the breath. Yeah. I'm also a transformational coach. So every client call, I meet my clients on Zoom, and we start with breath work. And then I'll guide them into a meditation. But before that, it's big breath in.
Yeah. It's kind of like how I see this, helping people to, we're in this rush the whole time, and we're doing this, we're doing that. And, it's kind of like a way to, because you can't just sit down and really sit down and just leave the world behind. It's kind of like the best tool and the scientific also way, because it changes your chemistry to just bring you back, into yourself, just, to leave the world behind. I don't know what people would be doing if we didn't have breath work, like with meditation, with, bringing yourself back to the moment. It kind of like helps us to just, okay, let's just stop and.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. Scientifically, it's igniting our parasympathetic nervous system. So our rest and digest, we're calming down. I've dealt with some anxiety, and I help my clients with anxiety, and you can't have a panic attack if you are breathing in slowly and breathing out slowly.
Yeah.
And it helps just calm the whole nervous system.
Yeah.
And you're right I believe so much in connecting within and connecting to the present moment. And how do we do that? How do we link mind and body to be one? Well, that's the breath. The breath is that threshold to the present moment.
Yeah. So one crazy question. Do you have a kind of like a crazy story during your classes? Like one time I was speaking to one of my friends. He was a guest in one of our meditation events. Maybe you know of him, Light Watkins. He's a, famous meditation teacher. And he told us the story of when he was trying to, and highlight if you're listening, once he was in a class, and when people were all, with closed eyes and everything, and he was trying to light up some candles, and he burned the whole curtains. Everybody woke up panicking. Do you have kind of like a very crazy story during your sessions and classes?
I can't think of a crazy story from when I've been leading. So my husband and I went through a big transition. We quit our jobs in Connecticut, and we're both from Massachusetts. So we were ready to, after 5 years in Connecticut, we were ready to move and to kind of get that adventure going. I kept saying to Mike, my husband, let's go to Bali. We have to go to Bali. We have to go to Bali. Until he was like, we should go to Bali. So I made it happen. And so we went for a month, which it was funny because, when we met people from all over the world that aren't from the States, they said, you quit your job to travel for a month. We get a month off work from our jobs. And we're like, this is just, everyone thought we were being so,
crazy.
For doing that here, because that's just the culture. But we were doing yoga almost every day. We even went to a silent retreat there and meditation retreat. But there was this one hatha yoga class where we're chanting during it. This was in Canggu in Bali. And after Shavasana, he let us just kind of sit in a seated meditation for a while. And this has happened to me like a couple times since, but that was the most meditative state I've ever been in, where I was seeing like pulses of purple and blue and pink. And afterwards I said to Mike, like my experience, and he said, me too. So that's probably my most wild meditation story.
Wow, interesting. Maybe it was because of the teacher.
Yeah, that teacher was definitely powerful. And the whole practice was, and I'm a vinyasa teacher, so that was also just a different type of practice. And it's nice with all the different types of yoga that there is, it can offer us just a new experience and a new intention with when you're going to class. I know for a lot of yogis, they start for the physical asana, for the practice, for exercise. And then once you go and you realize, oh, wow, it's so much more than just the physical.
Yeah. And I think with yoga, I don't know your ideas, would love to learn it. I mean, in my own experience, I think with yoga, you need different yoga styles, like even every other day. It's like it just changes throughout the whole time. It's like in my 20s, and with breathwork as well. It's like with breathwork 20 years ago, the breathwork methods I used and liked using, like transformational breathing, rebirthing, holotropic breathing, I don't feel like I need them anymore. It's kind of like my breathing has settled down. I was a shallow breather. I needed deeper breathing techniques. Now I'm more like settled in a more settled energy. I need more, soft, natural breathing techniques. And also with yoga, like sometimes I need more yin. Sometimes I love vinyasa. Sometimes I like hatha. Sometimes I just like just standing in one pose for a couple of minutes or, just staying there and you just enjoy that. It's just such I think we're living in such a privileged time with all these practices available. And like I said, I needed to learn from a book. Now I can just go to anywhere around the world and find a yoga studio and just join a yoga class and meet another yoga teacher, which is just, I find it amazing. It's because I travel a lot, not for the past few years, but I've been traveling a lot and going all around the world. You can literally find a yoga studio wherever you go.
Or go on YouTube, or there's so many platforms online as well that make it so accessible. And you're so right. Like, I love waking up in the morning and really listening to my body and asking, okay, what would feel good for me today? What am I craving? And then that's the type of yoga or other physical activity I'll give myself. And I think that's a beautiful testament to the mind-body connection and my connection to my breath and being able to know what feels right for me, and not just physically, also just in my heart and mentally. And that's, and knowing, having that connection with yourself helps you just live life in alignment and living fully and living a life that's true and beautiful for you and not to what society tells you or what your friends or family or others.
Yeah, we've been speaking about this a lot lately with the podcasts I've been leading, and I think this is the time when we started realizing that all the shoulds and couldn'ts and all those, like the ideas, it's like, whenever the voice of the inside becomes louder than the voice of the outside, then you start living your life naturally and so purely. And still, I mean, even though there are a lot of people doing yoga, a lot of people meditation, I think there isn't that many people who are brave enough to just choose their own path. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing to be talked about. And how was it for you? Because I know from my own journey that it was tough, because first it's kind of like you're part of a group, because we as humans have a need to belong. And you're part of this group your whole life, in your teenage years, whatever. And then you're kind of like, I mean, I was there, like kind of woke up one day and said to myself, I don't want to live my life like this. This is meaningless. It's just, I literally saw that whole conditioning, and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And I looked at my life and it was kind of like a picture, and I couldn't see myself in it. And I thought to myself, okay, I need to stop. So I started meditation, yoga. This was in my 20s. I went to India and, started Vipassana and meditation, just spent a lot of time on my own. And only then I could really understand myself and what I want for my life, beyond all the conditioning and rights and wrongs of the society. And when I came back, of course, life wasn't the same for me anymore. And it's kind of like my whole life started transforming, because I left one group of people and there I was, connected with other people, having more soulful relationships. But it was such a change. It's kind of like your connection with one group ends, and then you start building more real, more deep, connections. And it's kind of like, when I look back, I see that I was, really brave. And there are not many people who can do that still. I mean, even though many people talk about that, I think that's kind of like a huge step.
Totally.
Like just going after yourself and your own path and, just leaving everything behind no matter what. It's kind of like you came to a place where you're like, even if I'm just me and alone, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is it.
Thank you for sharing that. And for just saying how much bravery it takes, because it does. And it's such a beautiful reminder for me. I feel emotional just thinking about it. Yeah, I feel like my intuition has always been really loud. So I've always been on the right path, following my creativity and my passions. However, it always felt hard. And I really used to identify in my younger 20s with the struggling artist mentality. I was a struggling artist. In college, we almost took, my friends and I, there was some pride in being that struggling artist, right? And then, I was comparing myself to my partner, working a corporate, he was working a corporate 9-to-5 job. And I thought, am I doing something wrong? I was teaching art classes at night. I had a part-time art teaching job with children at a school. And then once I became a yoga teacher, I was doing that. So I was running around everywhere, kind of hustling, but really making it work. To the point when I left Connecticut, I had a beautiful life that I created in a beautiful community. But to get to that point, it took a lot of, I guess, trusting in myself, trusting that it was always going to work out. And without the yoga and the meditation and breath work being a part of my life, then I don't think I would have cultivated that sense of trusting in my heart. Mm-hmm. And so even after Bali, my husband and I moved in with my parents, and this was all right before the pandemic. And I started looking for jobs and, maybe working at an art gallery, still things in my field, but everything just felt soul-sucking. And I was really sad. I was really, really sad. And I was feeling really sentimental about the life that I built and left in Connecticut. And I just had in my heart, I want to be a coach. I want to coach women. I want to be a coach. And so I got my holistic health coaching certification. And it was really scary to invest in myself. I also invested in other money mindset coaches. And since then, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So I'm investing in myself and being the best version of me. And, I have to practice what I preach with my clients. Yeah. So I need to I deserve support as well. Yeah. But it was a struggle, and it took a lot of self-belief to listen to my inner whispers, to listen to what excited me, even though the unknown was so scary. Yeah. Whereas, it wasn't like I would get my coaching certificate and have a job offered to me. I had to create the business for myself. I still do every day, but it's working out. I mean, it's working out greater than I could have imagined. And whenever I feel nervous or doubt or worry, I remind myself, it always works out greater than you could have planned, greater than you could have imagined. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of I think we pay the price for every step we take in life. So it's kind of you either, for our listeners, we have two choices in life. You either take one step to a life that is very fulfilling for you and it's rewarding for yourself. And from the outside, it can just look as silly and as stupid as it gets. When people look at your life, you're like, what's this about, Or you choose, this is kind of the unchosen, but the other path is kind of the path which many people choose. You don't live a fulfilling, extraordinary life. You don't get to live any extraordinary stuff. You're just this standard life, but you're not risking anything, and you're just part of the crew. And you pay the price in both of them. In one of them, you might be, not fulfilled or not have extraordinary, an extraordinary life. In the other one, you struggle a lot and you have to leave a lot of things behind. You're just going to an unknown. It's hard to explain, but then it's so rewarding, like for your own self.
And you have to trust so much in your vision. So in the beginning, when from the outside you look crazy, like parents or friends, family, society thinks you're crazy. You have to trust in your vision so much that, I've always said, they'll see. I'm going to make this work, even though they might have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think we have gone through similar paths. I remember my dad making a huge conversation on, because I was trained as an architect, and it was all about science, and then I moved into behavioral health sciences and all that, and I decided one day I'm gonna be a meditation and breathwork teacher, and they were like, what does that exactly mean? Like I said, yoga studio, yoga. And it was such a struggle. And at one point, you don't even, it's like when your vision is clear and when you hear intuitively, like for me, it was kind of like a calling, like from my heart, like this is it. When that happens, and I think that happens through breathwork and meditation, it's kind of like if you're doing breathwork regularly, if you're meditating regularly, doing yoga regularly, like spending time with yourself inside your own energy regularly, you cannot run away from yourself. It's like, for those who are listening to us, if you have an intention of running away from yourself, like running away from how you feel, who you are, your calling, don't do breathwork, don't do meditation, because at one point you can't. It's like your whole life will change, and at one point you won't be able to even stop it. And that was that for me. It's like,
And it's scary at first, but it's so rewarding if you listen to your intuition, you listen to your inner whispers. And you're so right. Turning inwards, listening to your breath, meditating, connecting with yourself, that is how you get your intuition to be louder. And then you can't, for me, I couldn't not listen to it, even though I was trying, I fought it, and it was hard at first. But I can't imagine having lived life differently. I can't.
Yeah, either you fight it or the society fights, it's the...
Right.
Yeah, it'd still be bravery. Yeah, if there was, thank you. This is just a beautiful conversation. Deep. Thank you very much for being who you are.
Thank you so much.
So if there was one thing you would like to teach humanity, like if there was one thing you would like humans to understand, like this is the thing I want them to get, what would that be?
Great question. I would say life is kind of all about a deep remembering. And in the work I do with my coaching clients, I've realized I'm not trying to teach anyone anything. My job is to give them space to reflect and to show up for themselves and to believe in themselves and to give them space to remember who they really are and to unlearn all the noise that society tells us what you should do and how life should be lived and how you make money and how you feel security. Security doesn't come from anything outside of ourselves. Abundance and love, it all comes from within ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's all about remembering that and that inward connection with your breath and and meditating. That's how you remember that you get to connect with yourself, and in turn, you're connecting with others and you're connecting with the universe.
Yeah. We are such rebels.
We are such rebels. I love it.
Okay, for rebels, come to Breath Up.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, and I love what you've been saying in the last parts. Like I think it's all about gaining the wisdom to give space and respect for just someone to just be they are. And I think that's just true love. And if like we could have more of that, I think things would be different, huh?
I think so too. And I'll lastly say, when I catch myself feeling anxious or feeling overwhelmed, I realize, okay, I'm out of alignment here. And when I'm in alignment and when I'm trusting in myself, I'm loving myself, and when I'm out of alignment, perhaps I'm taking life too seriously, or I am taking life too seriously. And I just remind myself enjoying life is what this living thing is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And it's all about enjoying the sad and happy and everything.
Yes, and embracing all the beautiful, all the tragic, embracing it all.
Yeah.
And that's living fully, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It feels great to have you in the world, breathing with us.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to us. I love you listening to us. See you in the next episode.